All right, on the stroke of noon, 45 minutes without childcare starts right now. Jack Albana, first man in. So if you can hear me, that's a good sign. As we await the Irish Dragon, Paul Felder, we got about 45 minutes for you today, and I got a lot of shit to discuss with Paul Felder. We're going to try to get definitive answers on his retirement or lack thereof, and there is Paulie. Right on time, this guy, you know? Unlike some of his fellow fighters, he is... With that, we now bring in the UFC legend, the Irish Dragon, Paul Exotic, the Iron Lung. Looks like he is right outside his new gym, or maybe not. That might be another door in his home.
No, that's it. That's
it.
That's the Peloton / spin class / you name it. It's in there.
So Paul Felder, it's great to see you. I mean, I said last week this is a true highlight for me, and I have a lot to get to with you today. Can you imagine the ratings if Tommy Felder was in here, by the way? Could you imagine the numbers we'd do?
He might pop in here today. I was just talking to him today. He was giving me movie suggestions last night on what to watch. So I watched Knives Out. We can talk about that later.
Knives Out. So, well, it's good to see you. So I know you're staying in good shape, just crushing these closet workouts. I can't imagine it's much cooler than 85 degrees in there.
It gets hot, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing these long runs, right? We and you talked about this. I stopped recently because if you saw the blister on my foot.
I saw the blister.
But you should see what it turned into because I didn't stop running. So it turned into, looks like a giant raisin skin on my foot, like leather. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to cool it on the long runs and just hit these cycle workouts. And fuck, dude, I'm addicted to it.
So I don't want to freak you out, but in college, a buddy of mine, Jesse Coulter, you know, we worked out a lot and ran a lot. And I once went with him when he had to have a surgical procedure done, quick outpatient, but painful, for something, you know, right on just the bottom of his foot, you know, and he just had to have like dead skin eventually cut. I mean, and I'll never forget the doctor as he was cutting saying, I apologize for that. I apologize for that, because he was putting him in so much pain. So you're right to listen to your body and shut down the running, because that shit can get out of control.
Yeah, it was definitely getting to that point. I mean, I posted a picture of my feet and it's disgusting, and I apologize to everyone that had to see that. But I've already got really calloused feet. Any of us fighters that don't really go and get pedicures have nasty feet, right? Because we're always rotating on the balls of our feet barefoot. So I mean, I've been doing martial arts since I was 12 years old. So that the knots of dead skin, I can cut your face open with the skin on my toe.
I believe it, and I'll pass.
Not that I'm going to do that to you, John.
Yeah, right. Shout out to Brian Boom Kelleher chiming in on the Instagram live here today.
Where's the ukulele, Brian?
With donuts. I love the donuts, and of course, Marion, mother of the great Paul Felder. Paul will be going to the doctor now. See, yeah. Now you got to go to the doctor to get that foot checked out. You see,
Paul. Well, no, Mom, but I'm going to the dentist on Saturday to get that root canal cap permanent fixed, so everything should be good. Hopefully I don't get some infection from my dentist.
Yeah, be careful. Masks all around. Shout out to Uruguay and England and everybody representing, and they want to see the 209 tattoo so early in the program today. Man. It's right there. So Paul, I thought one thing we could do today, and if you don't want to do that, it's fine. We know you're waiting for the right fight, but 43 Tony on Twitter chimes in, really doesn't want you to retire. And I don't know if you want to do it for this audience, but like, can you just give us one more? You know, I mean, I feel pretty confident that the UFC is going to give you a big enough fight that will whet your appetite to come back. Can you promise us one more, or can you give us like 90%? Can we get just one more fight at least?
I can tell you that after all of this, with what we're going through, I cannot wait to fight again.
There it is, folks.
Dude, I'm on this bike. I had my manager, Brian Butler, send me all these photos from Auckland. I texted him last night. I said, man, I'm feeling a little depressed. I'm missing my job. I'm missing the guys. I'm missing commentary. You know, I'm sitting with Ashing. We're having a great time. The family time is great. But I'm like, I missed that fire. You don't realize how important that is in your life, especially somebody like myself and anybody like myself who's an athlete and been doing this for so long, or somebody like you who's been working, you know, making this company become what it is, and you are, you know, one of the faces of this. To just have that stripped away from us, it's like, fuck, man. Fuck, I can't wait to get back to doing this. But I'm also realistic, and I'm not one of those people that's like, we need to just open everything up.
Of course.
And I don't want a second wave. I don't want any of that stuff. But when it does come, like when I see you guys again, if we're all on I cannot wait to just be like, I will never take this for granted ever again. I think that's something we're all going to learn from this craziness, if anything.
It's going to be great. And I wonder how much personal contact there is going to be, you know, because I'm a huggy guy, you know, like I have no problem walking up to Paul Felder when he's sitting at the bar, crushing a pint of beer, start rubbing his shoulders. You know, I just think a lot of that stuff might be going away, but that's exciting.
Just wear your gloves and your mask, man. You can give me a little.
Good. Yeah, no, I'll be protected. We'll all be protected. But yeah, I think May 9th sounds like 23 days away, and that sounds like a long time away, but hopefully that timeline will dovetail with more health and safety. And it looks like the UFC is going to be back in business. And obviously, as we have said in a long-winded way for many weeks, that once the UFC comes back, it's going to be every week. So again, what I said to you, and again, it's nice to have a few more weeks at home to see if we can kind of level this curve. But yeah, it's probably going to be May 9th now, you know, so eventually there are going to be airports and there are going to be flights, you know.
I like that. I like that date, because I feel like we're not pushing it where, you know, by then it was when we were supposed to slowly potentially be kind of opening certain states up in certain parts of the country. So as long as we keep it the way we were planning on doing it anyway, right, with social distancing, other than the fighters obviously cannot social distance, but, you know, test where they can and make sure everything's monitored and no crowd type thing. And
right,
let's get this ball rolling. People cannot wait for sports. And I like that Dana is, you know, I feel like he has now taken this upon himself as a fucking mission for himself. It's like, oh, I can't do it. I won't be the first back.
Right.
He will be other than WWE, who's been doing things, he will be the first sports back on TV. I guarantee it, for sure.
And respectfully to the WWE, it's a totally different thing when you're not staging it, you know. And
there's blood and real injuries, not something that can wait. It's like these guys are fucked up, need to go right now, potentially die.
Right. I mean, obviously something catastrophic can happen in a pro wrestling realm, but in any realm, you know, and that's, but for pro football, right? It's like you talk about catastrophe, my God. Abe Cowie, you're the fucking man. Thank you for checking in. So, all right, well, that's exciting news. So breaking news, Paul Felder has at least one more fight in him. So your thoughts on May 9th and this fight card that the UFC is starting to put together, man, about as top heavy as it gets.
Yeah, when I saw that get released, I mean, things that were added on there, like Anthony Pettis and Donald Cerrone.
That's right.
I mean, I know that they had talked, like, they're pretty cool with each other. They might have even called each other Anthony and Donald and been like, let's just fucking fight. Let's get something on the books and get going. Obviously, that's a rematch. If you guys haven't seen that one before, it didn't last long, but it was pretty epic while it did. Anthony pulled off some crazy shit in that fight. And I know that's one Cowboys wanted to get back, but I mean, who else we got? Obviously, Gaethje and Tony still fighting for the. And I read something recently saying maybe Tony peaked too soon. I think that's an interesting way to look at it. That now Gaethje's got a little bit of time to prepare properly for this thing, and Tony might have, you know, kind of overdone himself. But I just don't think he's that type of guy. I think you could tell him he's fighting in 5 years for that fight, and he'd still be in the mountains running sprints and kicking metal poles and getting ready.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Nate Diaz, if indeed it is his birthday. But I agree with you on Tony, right? If you had to give me one fighter on the roster who I think I wouldn't be worried about trying to really peak at the right time, knowing what I do about his legendary training habits and methods, it would probably be him. But I do believe, as we talked about here on this fine program a few weeks ago or 2 weeks ago with Justin Gaethje, if he was going to give you 18 or 19 minutes of pure hell, now can he give you 26, 27? And that, in theory, would be a different beast and a more level playing field. You know?
Yeah, I think he'll at least have, even if not a full 5, because he still hasn't had a 10-week camp or, you know, whatever you like to do, because everybody's different with these training camps. I think a lot of it depends on how in shape you like to stay in between fights. Some guys kind of just get by training and then pick it up. A lot of guys are just consistently in the gym X amount of times a day, all the time. And I feel like Gaethje's one of those guys where he slows it down a little bit because of how intense he fights and how intense he trains. So now he's had the time to really kick in those. I don't know if he'll still have a full 5 as hard as he can, but definitely a 20-minute slobber knocker for sure.
Yeah, that darn Steve chiming in on the chat says, no way Tony Ferguson isn't overtrained. He referenced the knee injury. Eventually, right, you do talk about age and miles and training miles. And again, they can happen overnight, right? I mean, there's certainly a lot of fighters who go into that final fight against an elite fighter thinking they can still compete with the best. And it happens overnight. But I don't know. I would respectfully disagree with that, darn Steve. I just think for Tony, if he's been as smart as he is dedicated to the craft and training, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, and there's certain guys that that's how they live their lives. That's how they live their careers, is potentially a little bit overtrained, right? And I know most of the time I've usually overtrained, so I know how that feels.
Right,
except
right.
for this last one, I was forced.
You're overtraining right now.
Yeah, no. I am going to do another session in like 3 hours. I have another workout that I'm going to do. So
yeah. So
I'm trying to burn 4,000 calories today. I think I can do it.
Yeah, that's insane.
I mean, this is protein and nitro cold brew. So this is delicious.
That's good. That's good. And it is 12:11 Eastern time. I also am intermittently fasting. I have not eaten. This is Diet Coke, caffeine free. So judge me if you'd like, but it's fucking delicious on the rocks right now. But yeah, I'm going to try to get one in. I could use a little strength and conditioning later today. But yeah, dude, you killing it on the Peloton and a fucking closet.
Well, the Schwinn spin bike.
Schwinn.
But today I did download the app for Peloton, and I had it on my iPad. That shit's good. I'm gonna buy one, man. Because there's a lot of guessing in the spin work in the cycling classes where it's all perceived exertion. So right. I'm still figuring out my perceived exertion at this point. It's not like a run where you run really fucking hard. You know, X amount of miles. This is not tracking my miles. This is more about just burning my legs and lungs until, Right.
So
I'm still trying to figure out, like, what's my, 8 out of 10, exertion. What level do I have to crank that to? How hard? What pace am I pushing the pedals? So today, I think it was 45 minutes and I burned 600 calories. So that's pretty good on a bike.
Yeah, that is good.
First thing in the morning.
You give me anxiety thinking about this. I was thinking about buying my wife one of those. She turns 40 here in 2 weeks, and was thinking strongly about buying a Peloton. But we got the treadmill; it gets pretty good use. Enough about that, though. So all right. So we have this championship triple header on May 9th. I at least want to get to some of this, and then we can spin it out of control a little bit with some of these tweets. But some people have suggested the fight between Francis Ngannou and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. And by the way, this is shaping up as a big night in the heavyweight division. We'll get to Greg Hardy and Jorgen De Castro in a minute. But some have suggested that Ngannou Rozenstruik should be for an interim heavyweight title. And I think in this climate, and I am more for the interim titles than most people. I think Gaethje Ferguson can't fight without a belt on the line right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you think about Stipe and DC completing their trilogy and when that feasibly could happen, as Stipe remains on the front line working to help people right now, and DC is at home, doing whatever he's doing, working out and being with his kids. I mean, the heavyweight belt is not going to probably be on the line. It'll be a year, maybe August, if they fight, right? So there is an argument to be made that Ngannou Rozenstruik should be fighting for a piece of the hardware kid. What do you think about that?
I agree with you. I wonder if maybe, I don't see either one of them saying no, but I wonder if in the negotiations that maybe not wanting to do 5 rounds was something that they were considering, especially as, at heavyweight on short notice with all the craziness that's going on. I guess it's not short notice. They were both getting ready to fight other people, right? Or were they
no, so they were going to main event March 28th.
So you were getting ready for a 5 round. No, then you're right. Then it should, I can see that happening.
To me, it was a true heavyweight title eliminator, right? It was scheduled for 5. I understand some people chiming in saying then then I get ahead of myself, respect to Jairzinho Rozenstruik, but that Stipe or DC would have to, I guess Stipe in theory would have to fight that guy and not DC. I guess that would be a little bit tricky, right? But I think that DC Stipe fight could be put on the books, and then the interim guy could wait. But a little bit tricky there with the language, I suppose.
Yeah.
So the other two title fights, Amanda Nunes, Felicia Spencer, and Henry Cejudo against Dominick Cruz. So Henry Cejudo has now verbally agreed, reportedly, to face Dominick Cruz on May 9th. So we've talked about that. It was rumored. Wrap your fucking head around that. And we can sit here and talk about the bantamweight division and, you know, Piotr Jan and Aljo and Jose Aldo and Moraes and the conditions that aren't allowing international fighters to get to the U.S. But the consensus greatest bantamweight of all time, Dominick Cruz, is getting a title fight in 23 days. He hasn't competed since 2016. It's incredible. I mean, and yet your expectation.
I know we talked about this last. I can't believe it's been that long. Maybe it's because I see him and I see him working and I work with him and I see him on TV all the time that it hasn't. I mean, fuck, that last fight was Cody Garbrandt?
Correct.
Fuck me, man. Yeah, I haven't wrapped my head around that it's been that quite that long. And then the guy comes in and slides right into a huge title fight.
All he wanted to was to position himself to have one fight against a high profile or worthy enough opponent to position himself for that title fight. And he's getting the title fight, which, you know, he'll always take. That's the thing about Dominick, you know, whatever the circumstances or conditions are. And all I can tell you in terms of our communication since the fight is announced, even though it hasn't been, I guess, confirmed 100%, is he just said there was a lot of hard work to be done. You know, we communicated, I think, in early April when he had almost exactly 4 weeks. And he just said there's a lot of hard work to be done was really all he would give me. So I know you can relate.
Yeah, and he's training, man. Like every post, he's got a certain amount of workout partners that I guess he's been staying in close contact with so that they're all keeping safe. And, you know, we've talked about it before. That mother effer pushes the cardio when he has a fight coming up. Look at all the pool work he's doing. He's doing some crazy dive.
I was going to ask you about that. It's on my list.
I'm curious of that, but I'm also I do swim a lot in training camp, but I'm a terrible swimmer, right? So a couple laps in a row for me, I mean, my heart rate and I feel like I'm drowning, right? So I don't have to do as much to get a workout in the pool as I do on the track or in the strength and conditioning room or hitting pads. I can hit 8 rounds of pads and keep my heart rate pretty much under 150 and go hard. You throw me in the pool, different story. So if you're telling me to dive to the bottom and grab weights, oh man, it scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, people swear by the deep end fitness or whatever it is, and Dominick has done, I think Liz Carmouche as well. That's interesting about swimming because it is a tremendous workout, obviously. And
I feel like I'm muscle and bone, right? So I sink like a fucking rock. Dude. I'm not dead serious, especially when I'm in camp and I'm all muscled up. It's just like a couple strokes and I start like my ass is in the pool, but my head is trying to pop out.
It's bad news.
It's terrible.
I remember back in the day.
My nutrition, he's 6'4", 6'5", whatever he is, and 104 pounds, whatever he walks around at. And he jumped in the pool and he was just smoking me in the pool. I beat him but we're in a competition right now on Whoop.
What's that? What's Whoop?
Whoop is these bands you pay like a monthly and it tracks everything and stuff like that. So, we're battling it out to see who burns more calories, who's working harder, and all that kind of shit. But he's got mountains and shit around him, and no kids, so it's a little unfair as well.
Shout out to the Gorilla Darren Till. You know, we were hoping you were gonna find your way in here today, so we appreciate the Gorilla checking it. I mean, dude has really been you know, a go-to on social media for me during this quarantine, you know, to see what Darren Till's doing. So we got to get him on the
Well, apparently he's just watching the kids whacking off and getting one workout a day is what he said on his Instagram pretty much.
Philadelphia repping for Paul Felder. But, there's a lot of big fights coming up, and Darren Till obviously is going to have one whenever things sort of get back. Sproles Royce 1, please give a shout-out, Paul, to your fellow Philadelphian, Timmy Sheehan. That would make a day. I hope I'm not setting you up here. You know Timmy Sheehan, or is that just a fan who wants a shout-out as a fellow Philly guy?
Where's this at?
Do you know Timmy Sheehan? No, I found it earlier. It's I just wrote it down. Do you know who Timmy Sheehan is, or do you not know?
Man. not off the top of my head, but
okay. This could be a
up?
bad day for Timmy then all of a sudden. See, I didn't want to set you up.
How do
But
I?
no, it's not in that. If you won't, I don't think you'll be able to find
I'm
it there.
just no.
Now you're just out of control, like your fucking beard.
So I'm growing it all in. I decided to grow the neck in and the cheeks so that it looks as horrible as possible.
Well, that's the thing. So and Zach Candido, our great boss, always want me to trim up my beard for the broadcast, right? And it's like I don't trim the neck, right? So it's like I'll shave the whole thing down if Zach gives me a hard time, but I never trim the neck. That's the way you got to go. Just fucking let it go.
Yeah, right now that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get the ear status and grow all this nastiness. And I might have to trim it all down to a certain level when it gets to that point. But, there we go. Mark Meehan, that's my uncle. Marion would kick Paul's ass. That is true. That is very true.
That's so funny.
My mom is the one that taught me to be tough. She comes across as a sweet, nice lady, but she's a fucking maniac when she needs to be.
Yeah. So the third title fight, Amanda Nunes, Felicia Spencer. Again, all of this in theory, 23 days from right now at UFC 249. Maybe it'll be relabeled UFC 250. But again, if people have been maximizing their training, they should be ready to go. I've heard a huge narrative that we're going to see lesser mixed martial arts. And I think with the championship triple header, I feel like we're going to get high-level stuff. We've talked about some of the technical shortcomings that could
lesser
be there.
Mixed martial arts, meaning like lesser skill sets in there because of what's going on?
Correct.
I don't know about that, man.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true.
I think
you're going to see a lot of healthy individuals with no injuries. And credit, John Kavanaugh brought that up on one of his tweets, and I thought about that. I'm like, yeah, maybe they're not going to be as polished at first in the first round or so when they get a feel, but these guys are fighters, especially at this level with the competition that's on that card. These guys have been doing this for so long. Just because you haven't been sparring as much, as soon as punches start going, they know how to fight, but they're going to be injury free and hopefully have insane cardio, because if you don't have really good cardio for these fights, then you haven't been doing anything, because that's pretty much all some guys can freaking do, right?
Right. Like for a fat kid over here, fat guy in a little coat, right? If my cardio isn't better when I hit the road for the UFC again, even with 3 kids, right? Like there's no excuse, right? Like 3 kids is a great excuse. It really is.
Yes.
Because I don't always have like an hour, right? I really don't, at least from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., where I can break away. But you got to figure out a way to get it in. And I would certainly think as a fighter, if you just dive yourself in as a professional athlete to that part of it, that will be a great source of confidence, I would think. I don't know.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you can be running, you can be doing sprints. If you have access to any kind of bike, you can be doing bike sprints, long bike rides. There's just so much stuff. I mean, I was lucky enough, like I said, to get that bike, but I see a lot of people out there. Molly McCann just posted, she ran over 10 miles or whatever it is the other day. Even seen Darren Till today posting, he's in his sauna suit outside. Looks like he's hitting sprints or a long run. Cruz in the pool, doing all that kind of stuff. There's stuff to do. It's not ideal. It's not the best case scenario, but sometimes that's what breeds the craziest shit out of these fighters, and the desire to get paid and get back into the octagon. I know it's doing it for me. I mean, every picture I see of an old fight or a video, I'm like, oh man, like hitting pads with Duke. I'm like, fuck, man, I missed that.
Right. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people are chiming in here, want to see you fight Conor, want to see you fight Dustin Poirier, or potentially when this Ferguson-Gaethje stuff clears out.
That
May
Poirier
9th.
fight, I like that fight, man. I have nothing but respect. I know he's matched up for Hooker, but who knows? I know, unfortunately, Dan's from, well, fortunately for him, I should say, he's from New Zealand, and they seem to be having quite a handle on this. But still, who knows about international travel and what's going to happen? So you never know. Could slide into a fight like that.
And again, Hooker with a young kid, it's about going back, right? You always got to think about it in the terms of going back home to your kids. Is he going to quarantine, away for 14 days potentially because he has to come to the U.S. and Fight Island beckons? But I do think Poirier v. Felder, potentially 5-round main event, has a ton of legs. Obviously, we hope Hooker can make the walk and stay healthy.
Obviously, I'm not trying to slide in there and diss anybody. And
of course. Bro,
But
you got a lot of support in New Zealand now. You don't have to worry about that anymore. You established so much goodwill back in February, which feels, by the way, like a half a decade ago, that fight.
I'm telling you, man, I was just looking at all these images today, and I was like, oh my God. Like just looking at all those people shoulder to shoulder next to each other in the audience, I'm like, it almost is like, oh, God, social distance, please.
I know.
I see on TV, see people shake hands and hug, and I'm like, whoa.
I'm telling you, that's what I'm really most curious to see in all of this is how we all resume, right?
Yeah.
Our touchy-feely UFC road crew, right? How we're all going to interact with one another, you know? Can we have a table for 6? Yeah, we've got 2 more showing up, but in actuality, we want the space, you know?
Yeah, spread it out.
Can you give me some thoughts on Greg Hardy against Yorgan De Castro? As is well documented, Greg Hardy, 5 UFC appearances in 2019, his first year on the roster. Again, it feels like a lifetime ago. All sorts of different things came his way. He had to deal with adversity, the inhaler stuff, but overall, tremendous skills, in my opinion, that are developing. Great athleticism. I would say the same about his opponent, Yorgan De Castro, representing the great state of Massachusetts. Moving night in the heavyweight division on May 9th, potentially, and I think one of these guys, both can't be bona fide contenders, but I think the winner really has a chance to do some big things, potentially.
Yeah, I really like that Yorgan De Castro. I called his fight on Contender Series, and I think a lot of people had kind of didn't know who he was. He was maybe the B side of the whole situation going into that fight, and he came out and looks, you know, his kicks, his punches, he's got power. He moves really well for a big guy at heavyweight. He's got a lot on his plate to be dealing with Greg Hardy, the way that boy punches. But skill set wise and polishedness, I'm going to give it all day to De Castro. If he can avoid getting that big bomb and getting cracked with a big punch and outpoint and leg kick, I see him winning that fight.
So Jeremy Stevens, Calvin Kattar, Alexei Oleinik, Fabricio Verdum, Carla Esparza versus Michelle Watterson, Jacare Souza and Uriah Hall. They were going to fight April 18th. It looks like that's May 9th. Luque and Price, the welterweight rematch, and Charles Rosa against Bryce Mitchell. I mean, you want to talk about a super card. This is absolutely insane. Have you ever had a circumstance like these athletes, let's say Kattar and Stevens, right? April 18th. Came pretty close. About a week out, it goes away, and now you got to re-rack it for what amounts to 4 weeks. I'd imagine for you, in terms of the weight management, which is certainly a factor for Kattar and Stevens, that would be a part of the frustration. Any similar circumstance in your career when you have to kind of peak twice and that weight, like, do you go have donuts and then regroup, or do you try to stay on the straight and narrow?
Yeah, it happened a few times. It happened once really bad early on in my career. I was fighting for CFFC Cage Fury Fighting Championships. And
yes.
It was one of the hurricanes that came through and crushed Atlantic City. Just all the casinos shut down, and I was cutting weight at the weigh-ins were the next day. And I remember my coach being like, let's just get on top of this. We were maybe a few days away. I was getting ready to go to Atlantic City and stay in the hotel. And we didn't go that night because the weather was so bad. But I got to the gym. I was on the Aerodyne and like plastics, cutting weight. And then that night, the winds were so – I barely even got back to my house in Philly. That's when I was living with Tommy. And they called the fight off, and they pushed it back like a few weeks. So I started the whole process over again. I did go have like a big cheat meal, maybe a couple beers with him, and then back to the gym on Monday. And then another circumstance happened. They pushed it back a couple months. And that's when me and my coach decided, listen, they let me out of that contract. And that's when I fought up in Pittsburgh instead a few weeks later. And then I was supposed to fight in Brooklyn against Gilbert Burns at 155 for one of the pay-per-views. And Gilbert broke his arm in training. And they couldn't find me anybody to replace me for that card, but they put me on the Halifax card. That's when I fought Alessandro Ricci. And I think that was 2 weeks later. So I was getting close to getting ready to cut weight, had to slow things down, added 2 weeks to the training camp. Actually made my weight cut that time a lot easier. But, yeah, I've had a few cases where things kind of get mixed up and pushed back or completely canceled. In the case with Brooklyn, when I was supposed to fight Al.
Al Quinter, yeah.
Because then I got home, and Sean Shelby just keeps telling me, just stay ready. I'm like, motherfucker, it's not that easy to just stay ready for a 15-minute fist fight.
Right.
Any idea when? Can I go eat a cheeseburger? Can I go have some ice cream? Or am I going to go have chicken and, you know, a quarter of a cup of sweet potatoes.
Right. By the way, what can you tell me about an air fryer before we get back to Gilbert Durinho Burns versus Paul Felder as a welterweight main event? My wife wants an air fryer. What can you tell us about them?
Get it.
All right. Which one should I get? I mean, are there levels to this game or what?
You got kids, and I would get a big one, right? So this way, if you're trying to make something for yourself, dude, you can make, I know people are probably going to get on me here. You can make steaks in there. You can make all different kinds of baked potato, roasted vegetables. I make salmon in there sometimes. Dude, it is so worth it. And you can just warm things up in there, but like,
all right,
you know,
done. Maybe you'll text me a brand after the fact.
Yeah, I'll tell you which one I have, and then I can send you ones that I would recommend. Like my brother Tommy's just got, I think he got a much bigger one now. And but yeah, man, I was living in Milwaukee with Dan Gonzalez, my roommate, the guy that runs the gym, the, like, you know, all the business ends of things. I lived with him most of the time until recently. And his parents gave him an air fryer, and we just started messing around with it one night just to see how it was. And we were both like, holy shit, this thing is amazing. We made salmon one night. It took like 8 minutes to make 2 big old salmon fillets. I roast carrots in there, and I do sweet potatoes in there. I could talk all day about an air fryer.
All right, good. I'm glad I brought it up, and you'll text me the brand after the show, and we will be buying an air fryer.
Yeah.
So you're getting everybody all excited about Gilbert Durinho Burns versus Paul Felder as a main event now. That fight obviously was offered once before. Both of you guys have a what we'd say in Boston. Both of you guys got a fucking shit ton of momentum right now. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, is that, like, I'm just throwing it out there, right? I mean, he's chasing Woodley. I mean, is that in a main event situation a spot where you'd move up to welterweight against a former lightweight? Does that wet your beak? Would you like to wet your beak with that, so to speak? No?
I like him too much, man. Now that he's a welterweight and I'm a 55er, like, and Jarrett Gordon's down there in Florida training with Gilbert. So
Good.
I'd rather be hanging out with Gilbert after fights, getting some grub than trying to punch him in the face. There's just certain guys that I didn't really know him when I booked the fight. Now I've seen him on the road a bajillion times. He's such, you know, we've interviewed him. He's such a nice guy. He's such a chill guy, and he's. Fuck that! I ain't trying to grapple with him.
Yeah, you're not messing around with him.
Give me a striker.
Yeah. No, right. Yeah, although he's probably the type of guy. He's probably one of the few guys who might actually be willing to put in the contract that he'll just strike. You know, he's that type of cat. You know, he really is. But... Yeah, there you go. So I remember seeing Jorge Masvidal back in the day during a weight cut. Underwater for like minutes and minutes and minutes, and I'm sitting there on the treadmill, right, overlooking the pool, and I'm like his a couple teammates sitting there, but I'm like, is someone gonna get game bread, or am I gonna, you know? And then he'd come back to the top of the water, you know, and it just made me think of it when you were talking about the swimming, and I don't know if there's any benefit. You know, I have found myself during this COVID-19 when I've been in the pool holding my breath underwater to see my lung capacity or whatever. Yeah, right. So I'd imagine that was part of what he was doing.
And I've been reading some stuff, and I think Joe Rogan even just posted something recently about how, you know, no brainer, duh. The fitter you are, the stronger your lungs are, the chances of you dying from this situation are much less.
Right.
Hence why, you know, people with underlying problems or people with smoking and stuff like that are obviously more susceptible to this disease or this virus, than fit people. But doesn't mean we can't get it. It just means, listen, go out there, blow those lungs out a little bit, and give yourself a chance to kick this thing in the ass. Obviously, just sitting on your ass is not going to get anybody prepped to fight a fucking pandemic virus going around right now. So
that's the truth.
You know, that would be my advice. And not everybody is going to be able to jump on a bike or go for a 6-mile run, but doesn't mean you can't take your kids out, go walk around, breathe some fresh air, wear your mask, do whatever precautions you got to do. But man, don't take this opportunity to just be like, I'm going to sit on my ass and just drink beer. And don't get me wrong, I'm drinking plenty of beer during all this.
Right.
And Gran Leyenda tequila, they're a sponsor of mine. They hook it up, man. They have some great tequila products, all organic. This shit is for real. I can drink a lot of that stuff and wake up no hungover. That's my new thing, man. A little tequila on the rocks. It's nice.
Yeah. All right. Hey,
Don't
so
tell that to the Irish people of it. I mean, I like to drink only whiskey, guys. Sorry.
you're making me envious with that Tequila Blanco
No,
sponsorship right
yes,
there. I'll
yes,
tell you
yes,
that.
yes, yes.
So keep getting questions about EA Sports UFC 4, and I know people are impatient for the new video game. It's one of the few things I can't update you on here. I would absolutely love to. It's a lot of hard work, a little bit of an interruption, but you know, a lot of hard work has gone into it already. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Oh my gosh, nothing harder in broadcasting than voicing that video game. I'll tell you.
Yeah,
you know,
dude, you've told me about it. Sounds you must have a headache and a sore throat by the end of all that shit.
Well, and then you hate yourself, right? Like I have an identical twin, so I'm already sick of the sound of my own voice, even though my voice is so damaged and beat up now that we don't sound as much alike as we used to. But I'm already sick of the sound of my own voice. So that type of repetition,
over and over.
I do this every week on this show. I'm punching myself in the face, but you truly want to kick your own ass by the end of it, you know? Coming up, 147 pounds, just rep. I mean, you name it. Every single pound, red corner, blue corner. It's nuts. Anyway, all right. So which underdog do you think in a championship setting on May 9th has the best chance to win the fight? Felicia Spencer, Dominick Cruz, or Justin Gaethje? Now, I haven't seen a line on Cruz Cejudo. I am operating under the assumption that Dominick Cruz will be a betting underdog, albeit not hugely pronounced, but Vegas doesn't like layoffs, right? So I think Dom could be an even bigger underdog than he would be because he hasn't fought in a long time. Felicia Spencer will obviously be in the role of underdog against Amanda Nunes, and Gaethje will be a dog against Tony Ferguson. If we're giving you money like ESPN often does on our pre-fight shows, Paulie, if we're giving you money to go to the window and you have to back Gaethje, or actually you pick Gaethje in the fight, so I guess Gaethje's going to be the guy, huh? But what chances, I guess, do you give Cruz and Spencer then? What do you got for me?
I nothing against Spencer, but
it's gonna be tough.
Just tough fight. Never count anybody out. More power to her. Hope she puts on a great fight. But I would definitely go with Cruz and for sure Gaethje have a chance. I mean, for sure Dominic. I think depending on how he's physically holding up. If he's injured or not going into the fight. But if he's a healthy Dominick Cruz, I think he's got a very good shot. And I think for sure Justin Gaethje's got the chance to do it.
Cody Merrow says Dominick Cruz right now plus 175 at 5 dimes. So I think that's probably properly priced right now, at least on Dominick Cruz. All right. We'll get to a few more comments, but I do want to get you out of here on this. So the pound for pound discussion, okay? I have at times turned my nose up at the pound for pound debate and not wanted to have it because I felt it's sort of an inorganic conversation that really can't be had. How are you trying to quantify Francis Ngannou in a pound for pound situation, right? But I do think right now, with this lull in the schedule, provides us with an opportunity to do it in a creative way. And so that's what we've done on the Anik and Florian podcast. We basically took the UFC's top 15 pound for pound rankings, right? And that's all the seeds. So John Jones gets the 1 seed on down to Dominic Reyes is the 15th seed. Then we took 4 guys on the outside looking in, let fans vote on the 16th seed. It looks like Francis Ngannou is going to beat out Colby Covington, Leon Edwards, and Paulo Costa and be the 16th seed. And it'll be John Jones versus Francis Ngannou in round 1. So before I get your take on a matchup or two, and we're not going to spend long on this, but I just want your thoughts, generally speaking, because I know you do a lot of media and you get asked this a lot, as do I. What are your thoughts on the pound for pound debate as a whole?
Man, honestly, similar to you, John, it's one of those things that I forget even exists half the time. I'm looking at rankings as they are in the weight classes and things like that. I feel like it's like fantasy football or fantasy. It's just one of those things. It's like, you're comparing a 125-pound man to a giant heavyweight man, and pound for pound, who's greater? What's the competition like in each weight class? Obviously, certain weight classes have stiffer competition. Does that somehow gauge what somebody has done? Obviously, John Jones has cleaned out his division over and over again. But, somebody like Khabib Nurmagomedov at 155 pounds undefeated is beating all these lightweights where arguably we say it's one of, the best, if not one of the 2 best weight classes in the entire UFC. So I don't really think much about it, to be honest with you. I haven't been on it yet, so I certainly don't think much about that.
Right.
And yeah, I don't even notice when that changes. I'm always just looking at rankings in their actual weight classes. I don't think much about the pound for pound.
I totally agree. It's nothing I really ever pay attention to. But Ken Flo sort of had this idea that if we seeded guys, you could potentially get a round one matchup between Francis Ngannou and John Jones, right? That is a realistic fight right now. And on our show Monday, I'll make a case why Francis Ngannou pound for pound right now can win that fight. You know, our 8-9 matchup is Alexander Volkanovski versus Conor McGregor. I know Conor's not going down to 45, but Volko certainly could fight at fucking 70, the little fire hydrant, you know?
Dude, I heard that he was up to 195, 193 recently. Somebody made him get on the scale.
I don't doubt it. 50 pounds. I don't doubt it at all. And I bet you probably don't really doubt it because of your own experience, right?
I mean, full disclosure, a week ago I was 203, 204. Well, not looking great, but
well, dude, I tell you, I go like 166 to 157, like fucking that, you know.
Yeah,
so
I'm already well under. Like I'm not
203 anymore.
Near that.
Yeah, but Volko, when he was in rugby league.
Yeah, how much?
As is well documented, right? It's not 240 pounds. Playing for the Warrilla Gorillas, he was 214 pounds. But I love throwing it at Joe Rogan on every broadcast and getting his reaction because it just seems more improbable every time because a guy competes 70 pounds south of that.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. And yeah, he's a fire plug. He's a little fire plug.
So basically what we've tried to do, anytime I'm asked about pound for pound, I try to take it down a track that is, who is the most skilled UFC fighter right now in 2020? So with respect to Patricio Pitbull and everybody else, we're talking about UFC fighters because it's based upon the UFC's top 15. But skill for skill, who is the most skilled UFC fighter in 2020? So we have an opening round matchup between Daniel Cormier, the 6th seed, and Max Holloway, the 11th seed. Now, certainly Daniel Cormier in that matchup has a path of least resistance at whatever weight, right, to try to wrestle and not strike with Max. But you are getting a 41-year-old Daniel Cormier in the right now pound-for-pound discussion. And if you think Daniel is 2 or 3 years removed from his prime, which I don't, then you have to factor that in when you're handicapping that matchup. So that's kind of what we're doing, you know.
See, this is why I don't play fantasy sports. I'm already like,
Yeah. Right. What? You're like, huh? I'm the fuck. I just want to fight. You just want to fight. Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, we'll be back next Thursday at noon fucking Eastern time. May 9th. I haven't heard anything from the UFC about May 9th. I don't know if you've heard anything about working a show in 23
days. It's
days.
Ashton's birthday.
May 9th. Oh, so you're supposed. So were you supposed to be in Disney?
So I was. Yeah, and she never even knew, thank God. We never even
told her it
was going to be a surprise for her 5th birthday. We were taking her, me, Christine, and my mom to Disney. And, you know, when this broke out, we were still waiting. We had the deposit out, like, you know, you have until April up. And she's like, we're still kept our deposit, and we're going to try to find a date at a different time when things are finally cleared up. Because at first we're like, oh, May, it might be good by May. Now it's like there's no way in the hell that we're going to go to a place like Disney.
Yeah.
But I was supposed to originally work in Brazil, right? Isn't that where it was supposed to originally be?
That's correct.
I mean, I don't even know if that was announced, but now I can say that because it's not happening, obviously.
Right. I can breaking news. My flight to Sao Paulo got canceled yesterday. If that's breaking news, so that's not happening. You know.
I got to still cancel my flights to Florida.
But what a legend you are for not telling your daughter. Like, my daughter's birthday is in a week, and her presents are coming because we had to cancel her birthday party. And, like, I can't help but, like, giving them to her 7 days out. So good on you for, you know, being tight-lipped about that.
Now I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do to even make that remotely
I know.
as fun as
I know.
You know. And she had all these other birthday parties with the kids at school. I mean, she's only in preschool. Now we got to figure out, we're trying to get her ready to be ready for kindergarten, which, you know, I don't overthink it too much. I mean,
don't,
not
especially
even 5
at that
years
age.
Old, man.
Yeah.
She already knows her, phonics. She can sound things out. She can do the alphabet and read certain words. I'm like, you're good. I didn't know that shit when I was 4.
Yeah.
My mom
No,
was
she's
telling me,
fine.
she's like,
Yeah.
when you went to kindergarten, it was half a day, and like you learned how to tie your shoes.
Yeah,
Like,
she's fine.
wipe
I
my
mean,
ass. I mean, she's ahead of the game. She does have to get better at getting dressed, though. She just wants me to put on her clothes.
Cody Merrill, my guy says Fight Island shirt for Paul and Ashling is in the mail. That's exciting. Well, make it the best you can for her. You know, one thing that I would recommend, so I bought my daughter like a unicorn float that's like the size of an octagon. And even in an indoor situation, right? If you buy, like, I know there's bounce houses and whatever else, but buy for $35, you can buy a float that's the size of your living room and put her on fucking top of it, and she'll think she's at an amusement park, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
all right, kid. Well, hey, appreciate you making the time. The Team Felder shirts, Brian Butler tells me they're in the works. So, you know, hopefully the Team Felder shirts will be coming. I mean, long the team has to wait to get the T-shirts with respect to Rufus Sport. You know, if you want to send me one of those, Duke, I'll take it. But Team Felder,
Duke will hook you up for sure.
Yeah.
I'll hit him up today. I was just talking to him earlier today. I sent all those guys a group message with a group picture of us saying how I missed everybody. So
good, heartfelt. All right, buddy. Well, appreciate your time as always. Thanks for checking in, and we will see you next Thursday, kid.
Yes, sir.
There he is, Paul Felder.
Peace.
In the flesh.